Some choices should never exist, but life doesn't always ask. It forces, and that was exactly what happened to Zarina. She was not a bad person, not careless, not weak. She was just a mother. And for a mother, nothing matters more than her child, her son, Jasor, her whole world, her reason, her everything. She raised him alone. No husband, no support. Just her, working, struggling, sacrificing, every single day. But she never complained, because every time she looked at him, it felt worth it. Until one night, everything changed. A knock on the door. Loud, urgent. Zarina opened it. 2 men stood outside, serious, cold. "We need to talk about your son," one of them said. Her heart dropped. "What happened?" she asked quickly. "Your son," pause, "is in trouble." The world froze. "What do you mean?" she whispered. The man looked at her. He was at the wrong place, with the wrong people, and now he's involved. Involved. That word felt dangerous. "How bad is it?" she asked, her voice shaking. The second man stepped forward. "Bad enough." Silence. "If this goes to the police, his life is over." Zarina felt her legs weaken. "No," she whispered. "My son is a good boy." The men didn't react, because this wasn't about good or bad anymore. This was about reality. "What can I do?" she asked, desperate, ready, afraid. The first man looked at her carefully, then said, "There is a way." Silence. A small hope. Dangerous hope. "You take the responsibility." The air changed. "What?" Zarina said slowly. "You say it was you." Her breath stopped. "I didn't do anything," she whispered. The man nodded. "We know. But if you don't, your son will pay for it." Silence. Heavy. Unfair. Real. 2 lives, 1 choice. Her son's future or her own. Zarina stood there, frozen, because sometimes life gives you a choice that isn't a choice at all. And that night, she made a decision. That night, Zarina didn't sleep, not even for a moment. She sat alone, in silence, but inside her, everything was loud, too loud. Her son's face, his childhood, his smile, every memory came back. "I have to protect him," she whispered, "because that's what mothers do, even when it breaks them." Morning came, but it didn't feel like a new day. It felt like an ending. Zarina stood up slowly, her decision made. Not easy, not right, but necessary. She looked at Jasor, sleeping, peaceful, unaware. She walked closer, sat beside him, gently touched his hair. "My son," she whispered, her voice soft, full of love, full of pain. "You will live a good life, even if I can't be there." Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them quickly, because this wasn't the moment to break. This was the moment to be strong, for him, only for him. Later that day, she went to the station. Each step felt heavier, slower, as if her body knew what was about to happen. A man sat across from her, serious, watching. "Why are you here?" he asked. Zarina took a breath, then said, "It was me." Silence. The words hung in the air, heavy, unreal. "What do you mean?" the man asked. Zarina looked straight ahead. "I did it." Her voice steady, stronger than she felt. The man frowned. "Are you sure you understand what you're saying?" Zarina nodded. Yes, no hesitation, no doubt, because this was no longer about truth. This was about sacrifice. They asked questions, details, proof. Zarina answered everything, carefully, confidently, as if it was real, as if it was her story. And slowly, it became official. The papers, the statements, the confession, everything signed, everything done. And just like that, her life changed. Not gradually, not slowly, but completely. One decision, one moment, one sacrifice. When they took her away, she didn't resist, didn't look back, didn't cry, because she had already made peace with what she was losing, her freedom, her life, her future, all for one thing, her son. Because sometimes a mother's love is stronger than justice, stronger than truth, stronger than everything.
Jesser woke up to a quiet house. Too quiet. No sound, no movement, no mother. He looked around, confused. "Mom?" he called. No answer. He stood up quickly, walked through the rooms. Empty, cold. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Then, a knock. A neighbor, her face serious. "Jesser," she said softly, "there's something you need to know." His heart tightened. "What happened?" he asked. The words that followed changed everything. "Your mother," pause, "has been taken." Taken. That word felt unreal. "Why?" he asked quickly. "She confessed." Silence. "To a crime." Jesser froze. What? His mind couldn't process it. "My mom wouldn't," he whispered. But reality doesn't wait for belief. Days passed, and the story spread. People talked. Neighbors whispered. "She did something terrible. I didn't expect that from her. How could she?" Jesser heard everything. Every word, every judgment, every assumption, and each one felt like a knife. Because he knew her, or at least he thought he did. "She wouldn't do this," he repeated. But the truth was already written, official, final. She had confessed. She had accepted it. And there was no explanation, no message, no goodbye. Just silence. And that silence was the hardest part. Jesser tried to visit her, but it wasn't easy. Forms, waiting, delays, barriers, everything between them. Finally, one short visit. A room, a glass between them. Zarina sat there, weaker, tired, but calm. Jesser looked at her, his eyes filled with tears. "Why?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Why did you do this?" Zarina smiled softly, the same smile, the same warmth, but something inside it was different. "I'm okay," she said, ignoring the question. "I just want you to live well." Jesser shook his head. "No, tell me the truth." But she didn't. She couldn't, because the truth would destroy everything she sacrificed. "Don't worry about me," she said gently. "Focus on your life." Her words felt wrong, incomplete, as if something was missing. And it was. The truth. Jesser left that day more confused than before, because sometimes not knowing hurts more than knowing. And deep inside, he felt it. Something wasn't right. Something didn't make sense. But the truth was still hidden, waiting for the right time to be revealed. Life didn't stop. It never does. even when something important is missing. Jesser tried to move forward. He had to, because there was no other choice. School, work, responsibilities, everything continued. But something inside him had changed. He was quieter now, more serious, less himself. Because when someone disappears from your life, they don't just leave a space, they take a part of you with them. Days turned into months, months turned into years, and slowly, Jesser built a life. He worked hard, very hard, because deep inside, he had something to prove, not to others, but to her. "I will make you proud," he whispered once, even though she wasn't there to hear it. He finished his studies, got a good job, became successful, the kind of man people respected, the kind of man his mother always believed he would become. But success didn't fill the emptiness. It didn't answer the questions. It didn't remove the pain. Because some things cannot be replaced, no matter what you achieve. Sometimes, late at night, he would sit alone, thinking, remembering her voice, her smile, her eyes, and that last conversation. "Why did you do this?" No answer. Still no answer. And that silence stayed with him, always. People told him, "Forget the past. Move on. It's better this way." But they didn't understand, because you can't forget someone who gave you everything, and you can't move on when something feels unfinished. One day, he stood in front of a mirror, looking at himself. A successful man, strong, independent, but inside, he still felt like that same boy standing in an empty house, calling, "Mom?" and hearing nothing. Because sometimes, time changes your life, but not your heart. And deep inside, Jesser knew this story wasn't over, because something still didn't make sense. And one day, he would find out why.
For years, Jesser tried not to ask, not to dig, not to reopen old wounds, because some truths are easier to avoid. But deep inside, the question never left. Why? It followed him, quietly, every day, every night. Until one day, something changed. Jesser received a call, unexpected, unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. "Hello?" A voice replied. "Is this Jesser?" "Yes." "This is regarding your mother's case." His heart stopped. "My mother," he said slowly. "Yes." Silence. "We have information you should see." Everything inside him shifted. "What kind of information?" he asked. "Come in," the voice said. "We can't explain it over the phone." The call ended, but his mind didn't. Questions returned, stronger, louder, more real. That same day, he went. The building felt cold, official, serious, just like years ago. A man greeted him, older, calm. "Please sit," he said. Jesser sat down, tense, ready, afraid. "What is this about?" he asked. The man placed a file on the table, thick, heavy. "This case," he said, "was never simple." Jesser frowned. "What do you mean?" The man opened the file. Papers, reports, details, things Jesser had never seen before. "Your mother confessed," the man continued, "but there were inconsistencies." Silence. "Inconsistencies?" Jesser repeated. The man nodded. Things that didn't match. Details that didn't make sense. Jesser leaned forward, his heart racing. "What kind?" The man looked at him, then said, "She was protecting someone." The
The room went silent. Jasur froze. What? The words didn't make sense. Or maybe they made too much sense. Who? He asked quickly. The man didn't answer immediately, because some truths need time, need weight, need understanding. Then, finally, he said, "You." Everything stopped. Jasur's breath caught. "No," he whispered. The man in front of him didn't interrupt, didn't argue, because this wasn't something that could be denied, not anymore. The file lay open, full of details, full of proof, full of everything Jasur never wanted to see. She took responsibility for actions, the man said calmly, that pointed toward you. Jasur's hands trembled. "I didn't do anything," he whispered. But even as he said it, memories began to return. That night, the wrong place, the wrong people, a fight, a moment of anger, a mistake, something that went too far, something he tried to forget, something his mind buried deep because it was easier that way, because it was safer that way. "No," he repeated, but this time his voice was weaker, because now he remembered, and remembering hurt more than anything. "She knew," the man continued. "She understood what would happen to you if the truth came out." Silence. She made a choice. Jasur closed his eyes, tightly, as if he didn't want to see it, didn't want to feel it, but it was already there, clear, unavoidable. She chose you. Those words broke something inside him, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply, because this wasn't just about truth, it was about sacrifice, a sacrifice he never asked for, a sacrifice he didn't deserve. "My life," he whispered, "is built on her pain." The realization was too heavy, too real, too much. He stood up, suddenly, pushed the chair back. "I can't," he said. "I can't accept this." But truth doesn't need acceptance. It exists anyway. He walked out, fast, without looking back, without thinking, because sometimes running feels easier than staying and facing what you've done. That night, he sat alone, in silence, but his mind was not quiet. It was loud, full, overwhelming. Her face, her voice, her sacrifice, all from me. Tears filled his eyes, for the first time in years, not from confusion, not from loss, but from guilt, real, heavy, unforgiving. Because sometimes the hardest truth is not what someone did to you, but what someone did for you. Guilt doesn't come all at once. It grows, slowly, quietly, and then one day, it becomes too heavy to carry. That's what happened to Jasur. At first, he tried to ignore it, told himself, "I didn't ask for this. She chose it." But those words didn't help, because deep inside, he knew. The truth wasn't about choice. It was about consequence, and he was the reason. Days passed, but nothing felt the same. Work felt meaningless. Success felt empty. Everything he built felt wrong, because now he understood. It wasn't just his life, it was her sacrifice holding it up, silently. He couldn't sleep. Nights became long, restless, full of thoughts he couldn't escape. Her voice echoed in his mind, "Just live a good life." Those words, once comforting, now felt unbearable, because he knew what they meant. Not hope, not peace, sacrifice, pure, total. He looked at his reflection one night, the same man, but not the same person, because now he saw something else. Not strength, not success, but responsibility. Heavy, unavoidable. "I owe her everything," he whispered. And for the first time, he meant it. He started changing. Small things at first, less focus on himself, more awareness, more thought, more purpose. He stopped chasing success and started asking, what matters? Because now he understood something deeply. Life is not just about what you gain, it's about what others give up for you. And that realization changed him completely. One day, he stood outside, looking at the sky, quiet, still. Then he said softly, "Mom." His voice broke. "I know now." Tears fell, not hidden, not controlled, because this time he didn't try to be strong. He allowed himself to feel it fully. Because sometimes pain is not something to avoid. It's something that teaches you who you are and who you need to become. This time, Jasur didn't run. He didn't ignore it. He didn't hide. Because now he understood. Running doesn't erase the past. It only delays the truth. And he had delayed it long enough. That morning, he woke up early. Not from habit, from purpose. Something inside him had changed. Not just guilt, not just pain, a decision, clear, final. "I will fix this." The words felt heavy because he knew this wouldn't be easy, maybe not even possible, but he had to try because doing nothing was no longer an option. He went back to the same place, the same building, the same man, the same truth. "I need to reopen the case," Jasur said, his voice steady, no hesitation. The man looked at him for a long moment. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Once you start this, there's no going back." Jasur nodded. "I know." Silence. Then, "I should have done this years ago." That honesty changed everything, because this time he wasn't acting out of emotion, he was acting out of responsibility. They reviewed everything, the reports, the statements, the inconsistencies, the truth. Slowly, carefully, piece by piece, and with every detail, it became clearer what happened, how it happened, why she did it, and what needed to be done. "This won't be simple," the man said. "It could change your life completely." Jasur didn't hesitate. "It already has." Silence, because that was true. His life had already changed the moment he learned the truth. Now, he was just catching up with what should have been done a long time ago. That night, he visited her again. The same room, the same glass, but this time he was different, stronger, clearer, ready. Zarina looked at him. She noticed immediately. Something had changed. "Jasur," she said softly, but he didn't ask questions this time, didn't hesitate, didn't stay silent. "I know the truth." The words landed, heavy, final. Zarina froze. Her eyes widened slightly. "No," she whispered, but it was too late. "I'm going to fix this," he said, his voice steady, certain. "I won't let you stay here for something I did." Silence, deep, emotional, because now everything was out, everything was real, and everything was about to change. Zarina didn't smile. Not this time. Her eyes stayed on him, careful, worried, almost afraid. "You shouldn't have found out," she said quietly. Jasur shook his head. "I should have known long ago." Silence. "No," she replied firmly. This is better. Better. That word felt wrong, heavy, unacceptable. How is this better? Jasor asked, his voice rising slightly. You're here because of me. Zarina looked at him, softly, like she always did. And you're out there because of me. Silence. Two truths, both painful, both real. Jasor stepped closer. I'm going to tell them everything. The words were strong, certain, final. But Zarina's reaction was immediate. No. Sharp, clear, unshakable. Jasor froze. What do you mean, no? I mean exactly that, she said. You will not do anything. Silence. The tension? Thick, heavy, real. I can't let you stay here, Jasor said, his voice breaking. I won't. Zarina's eyes softened, but her voice didn't. You will. And those two words carried everything, because this wasn't a request, it was a decision, a mother's decision. I did this so you could live, she continued, not so you could destroy everything. Jasor shook his head. This is already destroyed. His voice louder now, pain breaking through. I've been living a lie, and you've been suffering for it. Silence. Zarina closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them, calm, strong. No. Her voice softer now, but deeper. I've been living with peace. Those words stopped him. Peace, he whispered. Yes. Zarina nodded. Because I knew you were safe. Silence. That kind of silence that hurts more than anything, because it was true, painfully true. I don't regret it, she added. Not loud, not emotional, just honest. Jasor stepped back, as if the words hit him physically. You don't regret losing everything? He asked. Zarina smiled softly. I didn't lose everything. Pause. I saved everything that mattered. Silence. Because for her, this wasn't a loss. It was a victory, a sacrifice she would make again, without hesitation. Jasor's eyes filled with tears. I can't accept this, he whispered. Zarina looked at him, gently. You don't have to. Pause. But you have to live. And those words were harder than any punishment. The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls themselves were listening. Jasor stood still. Zarina sat across from him. Two people, one truth, two different choices. I won't accept this, Jasor said, his voice steady now, stronger, different. Zarina watched him, carefully. I didn't ask you to, she replied. Silence. But you expect me to live with it. And you expect me to let you destroy your life, she answered. Their words collided, not loudly, but deeply, because both of them were right, and both of them were wrong at the same time. This isn't love, Jasor said suddenly. Zarina's expression changed, slightly. What do you mean? She asked. This, he continued, is not love. This is sacrifice that destroys everything. Silence. Zarina shook her head slowly. No, this is exactly what love is. Their eyes locked. Two truths, two definitions, both unbreakable. Love doesn't ask you to lose your life, Jasor said. Zarina leaned forward slightly. Love doesn't ask, she replied. It gives. Silence. And sometimes it gives everything. Those words cut deeper than anything else because they weren't emotional. They were real. Jasor ran his hair through his head, frustrated, conflicted. I can fix this, he said again, his voice softer now, almost pleading. Zarina's eyes softened, but her answer didn't change. No. Firm. Final. If you fix this, you lose your life. And if I don't, you lose yours, he replied. Silence. Heavy. Unresolved. Because this wasn't a simple problem. There was no solution where no one loses. That was the truth, and both of them knew it. I'm your son, Jasor said quietly. I should protect you. Zarina smiled, a sad smile. You already are. He shook his head. No, I'm the reason you're here. Silence. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, because some arguments have no winners, only pain, only choices, only consequences. Finally, Zarina spoke again, softly, gently. If you love me, live your life. Jasor looked at her, his eyes filled with tears. And if I love you, I tell the truth. Silence. Because now everything was clear. This wasn't just a conflict. This was a choice between two kinds of love, one that protects and one that sacrifices, and only one of them could win.
That night, Jasur didn't go home. He walked, without direction, without destination, just moving, because staying still felt impossible. His mind was full, too full. Her words, her voice, her choice. All from me? He stopped, looked ahead, but saw nothing, because everything inside him was louder than the world outside. What is right? He whispered. No answer came, only silence. Because sometimes there is no right answer, only consequences. Two paths, both painful. One, he tells the truth. She is free, but his life ends as he knows it. The other, he stays silent. She remains there, and he lives with that weight forever. Two choices, both heavy, both real. Jasur closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and in that moment, he understood something. This wasn't about him anymore. This wasn't about what he wanted. This was about what he could live with and what he couldn't. The next morning, he returned, not to her, to the office. The same man looked at him, waiting. Have you decided? He asked. Jasur nodded slowly. Yes. Silence. Heavy. Final. I want to give my statement. Those words changed everything. There was no going back, no undoing, no escape, just truth and consequences. The man studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Are you sure? He asked one last time. Jasur didn't hesitate. I should have done this years ago. Silence. Because that was the truth, the real truth, not the one written in papers, but the one inside him. And now he was finally ready to face it, no matter the cost, no matter the outcome. Because sometimes doing the right thing means losing everything and still choosing it. The moment he spoke, everything changed. Not gradually, not slowly, immediately. His words were written, recorded, signed, official, final. The truth was no longer hidden. It was real, and it had a price. The process began. Investigations reopened, old reports reviewed, new evidence examined. Every detail looked at again, carefully, thoroughly, because this wasn't just a case anymore. It was a mistake, a serious one. Days passed, then weeks. Jasur waited,
Not in comfort, not in peace, but in tension. Because now he knew what was coming, and he didn't run, didn't hide, didn't regret. Because for the first time, he was living in truth, even if that truth was painful. One day, he was called in again. The same building, the same room, but everything felt different. He sat down, calm, ready. The man looked at him, serious. "It's confirmed," he said. Silence. Jaysir didn't react. Not yet. "Your mother's conviction," pause, "will be overturned." Those words hit deeply. Relief. Real. Powerful. She will be released. Jaysir closed his eyes for a moment. Just one moment. Because that was all he needed. To feel it. To believe it. To accept it. "She's free," he whispered. The man nodded. Yes. Silence. But not empty. Full. Full of something new. Hope. But then the man continued. "And you," Jaysir opened his eyes, calm, ready, "will face charges." There it was. The other side. The cost. The consequence. The truth. Jaysir nodded slowly. "I understand." No fear. No hesitation. Because he already knew this was always part of the decision, part of the price, part of the truth. "You may lose everything," the man added. Jaysir looked at him, then said quietly, "I already lost it once." Silence. Because that answer said everything. That night, he stood alone, looking at the sky. But this time, he felt something different. Not guilt, not confusion, but peace. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from comfort. It comes from truth, even when that truth costs you everything. The day arrived quietly. No celebration, no announcement, just a door opening. Zarina stepped outside for the first time in years, free. The air felt different, lighter, real. But her heart was heavy, because freedom came with a cost, and she knew it. She looked around. The world hadn't changed, but she had. Years had passed. Time had moved. Life had continued without her. And now she had to find her place again. But before anything else, she wanted to see him, her son, the one she gave everything for. Meanwhile, Jasur sat in another room, another place, another reality. This time, he wasn't visiting. He was waiting. Not for answers, but for consequences. The decision had been made. The truth had been told. And now he had to face it, without fear, without regret, because he chose this, freely, honestly, and that made all the difference. A guard opened the door. "Someone is here to see you." Jasur stood up slowly, his heart steady, but his eyes full. He walked in, and there she was, Zarina, standing, free, real. For a moment, they just looked at each other. No words, no movement, just presence. Years of pain, years of silence, all in one moment. Zarina stepped forward, her hands trembling slightly. "Jasur," she whispered. His name felt different now, full of everything, love, pain, pride. He smiled, a soft smile. "I told you," he said quietly, "I would fix it." Tears filled her eyes. "This isn't fixing," she said, her voice breaking. "This is losing you." Silence. Jasur shook his head gently. "No, this is finding myself." Those words stopped her, because now she understood. This wasn't just about sacrifice anymore. This was about truth, about responsibility, about becoming the person she always hoped he would be. Zarina stepped closer, placed her hand on his face, just like before, when he was a child. "You didn't have to," she whispered. Jasur looked at her. "Yes, I did." Silence, deep, meaningful, because sometimes love is not about protecting each other. It's about doing what is right, even when it hurts, even when it separates you, even when it costs everything. Time passed. Not quickly, not easily, but steadily. Years moved forward. Life continued, as it always does. Zarina tried to rebuild. A new home, a new routine, a new life. But some things cannot be rebuilt the same way. The silence in her house was different now. Not empty, but heavy. Because every quiet moment reminded her of him, her son, the one she saved, the one she lost at the same time. She visited when she could, sat across from him, just like before, but everything had changed. Now he was the one behind the barrier, the one waiting, the one paying the price. "Are you okay?" she asked once. Jasur smiled. "I am." And he meant it, not because it was easy, but because it was right. He had changed completely, not just in actions, but in understanding, in purpose, in truth. He helped others, listened, guided, as if his pain had turned into something meaningful, because sometimes the hardest experiences create the strongest people. Zarina watched him every time, with pride, with pain, with love, because she saw it clearly, the man he had become, the man she always believed he would be, but at a cost she never wanted. One day, she stood outside again, looking at the sky, just like before, but this time her thoughts were different. Not why, not what if, but something else. He became a good man, her voice soft, full of emotion, and maybe that was enough. Maybe that was always the goal. Not perfection, not comfort, but truth and growth and meaning. Because sometimes life doesn't give you a happy ending, it gives you a meaningful one. In the end, there were no winners, no celebrations, no perfect ending, only truth and the lives it changed. Zarina lived her days quietly, not empty, but thoughtful. Every moment carried memory. Every silence carried meaning. She had her freedom, but freedom didn't feel complete because a part of her was still there, with him, Jasur, her son, the one she saved, the one who saved her in a different way. Jasur lived his life too, not outside, not free, but not broken, because he had something many people don't: peace, real peace, the kind that comes when you stop running, when you face the truth, when you accept the cost and still choose it. He never blamed her, not once, because he understood everything: her choice, her love, her sacrifice, and now his own. One day they met again, not as before, not as mother and child, but as two people who had given everything for each other. They sat together, in silence, no questions, no regrets, because everything had already been said, in actions, in choices, in truth. Zarina looked at him, her eyes full. "You became stronger than me," she said softly. Jasur shook his head. "No, I just became what you taught me." Silence, deep, meaningful, because that was the truth, not the one written in documents, but the one written in life, in sacrifice, in love, and in choices. Because in the end, this was not just a story about pain, it was a story about love, the kind of love that gives everything, the kind of love that doesn't ask for return, and the kind of love that changes people forever. If this story touched your heart, if it made you think about your parents, about sacrifice, about truth, don't forget to like and subscribe, because sometimes the hardest stories teach us the most important lessons.